Ontario's Grey and Bruce counties are well known as destinations for those who appreciate the outdoors. Many beautiful conservation areas, provincial and national parks, as well as sandy beaches that yield spectacular sunsets immediately come to mind. The area, however, also has its hidden gems. Many of these are known only to locals, and one of these is the Kinghurst Forest Nature Reserve. Located about 30 kilometers south of Owen Sound, just west of Highway 6 and one concession north of Grey Road 25, the Kinghurst Forest Nature Reserve is one of the last examples of an old-growth hardwood forest in Ontario. Here I am just off the 6th concession of Sullivan Township in the beautiful Kinghurst Forest Nature Reserve. This pristine landscape was a vision of one man, Mr. Howard Krug. The story of the Kinghurst Forest Nature Reserve begins in Germany in 1836. That is the year Peter Krug, fleeing both mandatory military service and an arranged marriage that wasn't to his liking, emigrated to Canada, settling initially near Tavistock, Ontario. Soon after locating to Tavistock, he was attracted to the strong German community of Berlin, Ontario. He moved to Berlin, now known as Kitchener, where he apprenticed as a cabinet maker. By the 1860s, Peter, now married, had moved back to the Tavistock area where his wife's family was located. Here that he set up a cabinet making business that he operated out of a small shop attached to his house. While operating here, Peter and his wife Anna raised their busy family of 6 kids, all born between 1858 and 1875. Never afraid to investigate a new opportunity, Peter switched trades several times, requiring the movement of his family. First to Walkerton, Ontario in the mid-1870s, then, following the collapse of his enterprise in Walkerton, to Listowel, Ontario in 1878, where Peter and 3 of his sons, John, Christian, and Conrad, found employment in the Hess furniture factory. John, Christian, and Conrad all showed signs of their father's entrepreneurial drive and began contemplating the idea of setting out on their own in the rapidly expanding furniture manufacturing industry. While looking for a suitable location to place their new business, a relative suggested they look at Chesley, Ontario. Chesley, Ontario is located in the southeast corner of Bruce County. Primarily an agricultural area, known particularly for its beef production, the small town of 1800 is situated in rolling farmland, with the Saugeen River cutting through. Indeed, it was the Saugeen River that would provide power to the original Krug furniture factory. Chesley was founded in 1858 and incorporated in 1879. When the Krugs arrived in 1886, it was a bustling town of 1,400 people, many of which worked in small manufacturing shops. The Grand Trunk Railway had laid track into Chesley in 1881, connecting it to the North American market. Construction of the first Krug furniture factory, which measured 52 by 36 feet, began in early summer 1886. Hard work paid off, as on August 25, 1886, Krug Furniture began production. The furniture business proved to be good, and the Krug factory expanded further, adding a lumber kiln and sawmill facilities located across the river. Though species such as walnut and oak were imported from other sources, Krug Furniture made sure to take advantage of the plentiful hardwood forest containing maple, elm, beech, and ash that surrounded southern Bruce and Grey counties. In order to stay supplied with local lumber, the Krugs acquired it in any way they could, including the leasing of land for the purpose of logging, buying already fallen timber, and purchasing bush lots. In 1899, several properties off of the 6th concession of Sullivan Township were purchased until nearly 600 acres of forested land were in the Krugs' possession. Purchased with the intent to completely log, these properties, located about 2 kilometers south of the settlement of Kinghurst, were the beneficiaries of a changing strategic vision implemented by John Krug. Treating standing timber as a long-term investment instead of a resource to be rapidly exploited, Kinghurst was only very selectively logged. In fact, by 1918, the giant standing maples began to make money for the Krugs in a completely different way. While not being actively logged, one of the ways the Kinghurst Forest made money for the Krug family was through maple syrup production. About 200 meters behind me here is the old evaporator house, which has unfortunately been closed due to safety reasons, as seen here on this sign. Hopefully in the future that will be open to the public. The production of maple syrup at the Krug property south of Kinghurst began in 1918. At its peak, before abandoning syrup operations in 1963, it was a 2,800 bucket operation, typically employing local farmers looking to pick up some extra money during the off-season. During the Second World War, maple syrup became a very important and very monitored commodity, as sugar was rationed in support of the war effort. 7 years after sweet maple syrup began flowing in the Krug-owned Kinghurst forest, Christian Krug's son, Howard, whom graduated from the University of Toronto in 1925, joined the family business. As the CEO of Krug Brothers Furniture, Howard Krug saw to it that the Kinghurst forest was managed properly and was only selectively logged. This attention to the preservation of this magnificent forest isn't surprising given Howard's many outdoor conservation efforts throughout his life. Howard spent the summers of his youth fishing and swimming in the Saugeen River, and later, during university summers, timber cruising in northern Ontario. In a 1994 video produced by the Bruce County Historical Society, the 90-year-old Howard, seated at the left, describes, amongst his many outdoor conservation efforts, the banding of birds.
Besides the furniture, Howard was so interested in nature and that he did an awful lot of banding of birds. He was one of the first bird banders. He says one of the earliest bird bander permits. He had to do that with a permit from the government. To how many thousands of birds had you banded?
We banded over 100,000.
100,000. He banded everything from real small birds up to eagles.
Though the value of the standing timber at Kinghurst was immense, and its real estate prices began to rise throughout Grey and Bruce County in the 1960s and 1970s, Howard still held the Kinghurst property. Approached in the mid-1970s by an agent offering to buy Kinghurst, Howard declined the offer, as he learned the agent represented Japanese interests who were looking to log the property for maple to be used in bowling alleys. An October 1977 article in the London Free Press on the Krug furniture operation states, "They could have cleaned up, made a small fortune, but there was no way Howard Krug was going to sell his maples for bowling alleys." Howard would, however, allow his property to be extensively surveyed and studied as a candidate nature reserve based on the suggestions of a 1976 report by the Ministry of Natural Resources submitted to the Niagara Escarpment Park Planning Branch. The findings of the study, stating the significance of the Kinghurst property and recommending it be designated as a provincial nature reserve, were presented to Howard Krug in 1983. In 1997, Howard Krug made what Ontario Nature terms a landmark bequest of 600 acres that make up the Kinghurst forest property to the Federation of Ontario Naturalists. Though once a very busy working forest, both through logging and maple syrup production, as you can now see, the forest is enjoyed by outdoor enthusiasts 4 seasons of the year. Containing many trails, the Kinghurst Forest Nature Reserve is suitable for everything from a vigorous run to a quiet stroll during the spring, summer, and fall. Though it is slightly more difficult to access during the winter, as the area is prone to significant snowfall, it does not allow snowmobiles or all-terrain vehicles, which provides the perfect location for snowshoeing and Nordic skiing. The forest is home to an incredibly diverse selection of plant and animal life, including a significant population of salamanders that aren't typically found in the Grey Bruce area. Though mosquitoes and blackflies also enjoy the Kinghurst forest, they can be avoided by staying to the upland, hardwood forest, and not venturing near any of the ponds. For information on the Kinghurst forest, a good place to start is the Ontario Nature website, located at www.ontarionature.org, or even better, visit in person. One note about visiting in person is the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority maintains a Kinghurst Conservation Area 1 concession south of the Kinghurst Forest Nature Reserve. Though also a very interesting property, if you go there looking for old-growth hardwood, you will be sorely disappointed. For more information on the Krug family, a good place to start is the Bruce County Museum and Cultural Center in Southampton, or visit their website at www.brucemuseum.ca. Though this forest is incredibly quiet today, the call to action remains very loud. It's up to people to preserve nature like this for future generations, as Howard Krug had the vision to do almost 100 years ago.